If you guys are ready, let's jump into it. Let's talk a little bit about the display. So the three models, the S20, S20 Plus and this S20 Ultra, vary a little bit in terms of the screen size. The refresh rates are still the same. They all use the Quad HD Dynamic, the OLED versions, and there's not really much of a difference, but the difference is really just on the sizes. Now you have to account for the fact that for the camera holes, they might take a bit of the view screen area and the rounded corner, the curved edges basically, but still what you're expecting is the S20 to have a 6.2-inch display, the S20 Plus will have a 6.7-inch display, and the S20 Ultra will have a 6.9-inch display. Okay, let's talk about the cameras. Now, the S20 and the S20 Plus both share the same front camera. That is a 10 megapixel selfie camera. Both have the dual pixel autofocus and both have a field of view of 80 degrees. Not much difference there. The S20 Ultra is the one that is different, with a 40 megapixel selfie camera with a field of view of 80 degrees. Now your selfies will be super hot on the S20 Ultra. Let's talk about the rear cameras. Now the rear cameras is where the S20 Ultra wins bigly. So the S20, the standard version, and the S20 Plus both share similar specs, but the S20 Plus has a quad camera. Now for the S20 and the S20 Plus, they both have the ultra wide, the wide angle, and the telephoto camera, and each of them share the same specs. Really, there's not really a difference. The ultra wide camera for both is 12 megapixel. The wide angle camera for both is also 12 megapixels, and the telephoto camera is at 64 megapixels. Now the S20 Plus has additional depth vision camera. Now both of the S20 and the S20 Plus come packed with an OIS and the tracking autofocus. The OIS is the optical image stabilization. It's basically to stabilize any images that you take while moving. And the tracking autofocus, it's used to focus on an object or a person who's moving while recording, so that it doesn't lose focus on the object. There's not really much of that blurriness when the person or object starts to move. Now for the S20 Ultra, it comes packed with a quad camera. Now the ultra wide is at 12 megapixel, 120 degrees field of view. The wide angle camera is a whopping 108 megapixels. That's huge. That is huge. With a field of view of 79 degrees. It has a telephoto camera of 48 megapixels and a depth of vision. Now the telephoto is it's a bit lower in terms of pixels compared to the S20 and the S20 Plus, but the Ultra does back it up with a huge wide angle camera. Anyway, to recap everything I just said about the cameras, the S20 and the S20 Plus really share the same specs in terms of the front and the rear cameras, but the Ultra stands out with an amazing 40 megapixel selfie camera and a 108 megapixel wide angle camera. I mean, you can zoom up to 100 times on that bad boy, so it's really impressive. So let's talk about the memory. Now we're going to break this down in terms of two groups. For the S20, it has the 5G version and the LTE version. Now for the 5G version, it will have a 12 gigabyte RAM and 128GB internal storage. That is for the 5G versions. The LTE version will have an 8GB RAM with a 128GB internal storage. Impressive stuff, especially in terms of RAM for the 5G. For the S20 Plus, same two categories, 5G and LTE. For the 5G, there will be three types. Now, the first type will have a 12GB RAM with 512GB internal storage. The second type will have a 12GB RAM with 256GB of internal storage. The last type will have a 12GB RAM with 128GB of internal storage. Impressive stuff. For the LTE, we'll have an 8GB RAM with 128GB internal storage. Now, the S20 Ultra. Both the 5G and the LTE versions will have similar things, but there will be three types. We have the 16GB RAM for the first type with 512GB internal storage. Another one will boast the 12GB RAM with 256GB internal storage, and the last one will have a 12GB RAM with 128GB internal storage. Now, for those who need to know this, the RAM chips will be the LPDDR5. Again, I repeat, the RAM disks will be the LPDDR5. Okay, let's talk about the expandable memory and SIM cards. Now, both phones, I think all of the phones will be possible to expand their memory to up to 1 terabyte. Yes, if you can get a micro SD that has 1 terabyte, you can put it on the S20s. You can put it in there. Now you will have a single SIM model and a dual SIM model. For the single SIM model, it will have 1 nano SIM and 1 micro SD slot. For the dual SIM model, it will have a hybrid SIM slot, so that you know. 1 nano SIM, 2 nano SIM slots, but the second nano SIM slot will also be a micro SD slot. And again, get an SD that is 1 terabyte and you can pop it into the micro SD slot. Let's talk about the battery capacity. Now, the S20 will have a 4000 milliamp. The S20 Plus will also have 4500 milliamp, while the S20 Ultra will have a 5000 milliamp. That wraps up a few or more of the details that we know about the S20 5Gs. We're begging y'all to subscribe, help us reach 1,000 subscribers. If there's anything more you need to add, anything you might have missed out in this video, comment down below, tell us what you think, and y'all stay safe out there. Let's practice social distancing and we'll make it through all that's happening. Anyway, it's been real, it's been fun, it's been cool. Peace.